Look what I made. I am so excited. This was a bag kit, which was something very different for me, but I had a fabulous time, and I'm going to be talking to you in this video about tips and tricks on how you can get the most out of this kit. This is an Aster Ann kit. It's out of Australia, and this is the Anna large tote bag. This is not your everyday tote bag. It comes with the handles. The grommets are already installed for you. It has some really nice features. And this bag, it gives you so much space to get really creative. So watch along with me and let's see what I do for this bag. This bag making kit was given to me by a friend, and she said, go and do your magic. So I have a background in not just bag making, but also quilt making and hand needlework with embroidery from long ago when I was a child. So I'm not an expert in embroidery, but I do know how to do it, and I love the effects. So I was really excited to try out this kit. I wanted to show, so it all comes in a bag, in a plastic bag, everything for you. So you get this kit. This is some examples here. You can go to there's lots of videos about it. So this is how it comes. So it's basically a plain background already set for you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I have done. So I've already gotten started. So it does come with some very basic instructions on how to piece it together. And then it comes with some needles, these really sturdy large pins, with large heads. So I'm not familiar with these types of pins because the pin itself is really thick. So I think that would be great for long arm quilting. You can put this down on top of your long arm machine and do the quilting there. It also comes with handles for you. These are leather handles, but if you feel it, you might think that they're not because they have edge coating. So on the edge here, they have this coating, and so since it's brand new, it can feel a little tacky, but as you bring it out of the package, that will air out and not be so sticky. So you get two of these handles there. Now, the pieces you're going to see, so I'm going to show you the back side so you're not distracted. These are the two side gusset pieces. The grommets here are already installed for you, so you can get straight to the stitching. There's that, and then you get this piece here. I'm going to show you the back side. This piece is, it already has the grommets on here, and there is a pocket that's already pre-stitched into place for you. So there's a zippered pocket that hangs here. So I wanted to go over a couple of things that I've learned while jumping right in to this bag. So for whatever reason, I decided, you also get this magnetic closure. You get the magnets, and this little piece here, this leather piece here, already has pre-made holes for you so you can stitch through it, and then you can attach it with these hand needles. So for whatever reason, I decided to pop those on first. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is, but it was nice to know where the placement for me was going to be. So here's what I recommend, that you put them where you imagine them to be, and then don't actually stitch them. Take some pins. You can either take these pins, or what I would recommend is taking a scrap piece of fabric that you have the size of this and pin it in place, either here and here, but primarily on the exterior, so that you know that something important is going to go there, and you shouldn't bring your artwork into that zone of working. My second tip is what you just saw me, is to take this, pull it up and over to the outside, and you're going to see the stitching line here, and you're going to want to pin that up and out of the way again, because you don't want to get started stitching down here and stitch over the pocket, and then you're in a dilemma as to what to do. So here is another tip. This bag forms the gusset. It's going to come up like this, right? So it's not going to be like this. It's going to have a gusset. On the instructions, it will tell you that 6 inches deep, that's the width of the gusset. So I folded it to find the center point, and then I marked it. It's disappearing because I used chalk like this. My handy dandy ruler here is 6 inches wide, so I would fold it and find the center. It's roughly there, and then I put my 3-inch mark on there. And you can mark that. Now remember, that's the bottom. So this bag is going to be folded right there. So mark with chalk where the base is going to be. And so when your bag, that's going to be hidden, and you can either put designs in here or know that they're not going to be seen all the time. I wanted to have something to cover my base. As a bag maker, I have supplies on hand, and I wanted to put some vinyl on the bottom to add more structure and to keep this a little bit easier to stay nice for a long time. I sell bags, and I find that some people can be really rough on their bags as far as where they place their bags. So I want to have this on the bottom. So not just the bottom, I wanted to bring it up the sides just a little bit. This is also something, while this flannel wool is really nice and durable, people also do tend to, if it can fit, they will stuff it in there. And so things like iPads and laptops with that narrow, sharp edge almost will put wear and tear on your bag. So I did want it to come up a little bit to see that. So you can see that this is actually 10 inches. So I've got the base of 6, and then it's going to come up 2 inches on the sides. So this is going to go there. So I had marked, I can see a little bit of where that line was. And I definitely wanted to mark that because I knew that I wanted to have some kind of design that disappeared under this vinyl. So, and I left a generous side here. Nice thing about vinyl is that the raw edge is going to be just like the raw edge on this wool. Wool is not going to fray on the edge, and I can tell where they cut it. They may have cut it with some kind of, with something to seal the edge. And so giving it extra durability on this edge, it's not going to fray. So I can leave a raw edge here where I'm going to do the final stitching. So that's some tips. So again, make sure you could see why this should be out of the way while I did this. So what did I learn from working on this and doing my designs? The wool stitches like a dream. It's like butter. It's just absolutely wonderful to work with. This wool, even when I did a lot of stitching back and forth, it held up really nicely. It makes your stitches pop, and you can go over it multiple times and it still keeps that dimension. So this is going to be the back of my bag, and this is going to be the front. So I gave it a little bit more attention here to the front, but I did want to carry some of that design back here. So these fabric pieces that you see, they were fused with Steam-A-Seam 2, And when I peeled off the backing, they stuck perfectly to the wool, and they were so easy to apply and then move around. So not to worry about it pulling up fuzziness and not being able to re-stick. Also, when I went to press it on there, it really adhered nicely. So Steam a Seam 2 with this wool is a dream to work with. So I had those in place and I stitched on there, and then I pulled my stitching out onto the wool, and look at how nice that stitching looks on the wool. I did a few stitches down here, and then if you can see, so what happened was, as I was flipping it over, look here at where the stitching is from the decorative stitch. And I thought, that is really incredible. This is just a 40 weight thread on the back. On the top, I was using decorative threads, much heavier. But this 40 weight thread really went down into there and created nice dimensionality. So what I did after I had done, I came back and I added a little more, very subtle in appearance. And so here I have a 40 weight thread on the top and the bottom in a color that matches this wool. And so it adds more texture to the surface without it being very bright. And I filled up this space here, so it's sort of empty, but not quite, because it does have this in here, and it's just a subtle addition to this layer. I did come in by hand with some embroidery thread, added a little bit there. Again, stitching through the wool was like butter, really, really nice. And this guy was actually a tail on a stuffed bunny that I had been saving for the right project. So here on the front, I did, and this is the size needle that I was using. So you do have to get your own needles if you're doing other types of work. Those needles are too large, but this is what I needed to do the seed bead working. So I did the French knots here in the embroidery thread, and then that picked up the colors here that I had. I had these clear buttons which look really nice on this wool. I had some larger ones that I thought I was going to use, but I ended up just going with these as part of more flowers. And then I felt like this needed a little something. So I had these seed beads and I randomly put that on there. And this is done. Now what I'm going to do in here, because I came back in and used embroidery threads, the backing has this. You could do any number of things. But what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to line this with more wool felting. I happen to have some dark gray wool that is thinner, which will be perfect as the lining. So here's the wool that I'm going to line it with. You can see this is really drapey and this is thicker. So in the kit, you get something that's perfectly durable for a bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove these and then put them back on, because I really think that that should be the last step that you do. Why I jumped in and wanted to put that on there, I don't know, but I recommend putting that on last. Here are the side pieces. So these are going to be the gussets on the side. Again, when I saw how beautiful this was, I decided to come back up in here. Now, again, I used the 40 weight on the top and the bottom, and on this one, this is a much heavier weight thread. So if you really wanted this to show up and you happen to have the same color, then you could go with that and would pop a little bit more. I was using what I had. I did not have a thread in this color in the heavier weight, so I just went with the 40 weight, and I just repeated this design here on the back. And I want to point out that if you want a portion of your bag to be stiffer, stitch closer. And so I did a lot of stitching closer in here because this is the bottom edge of the bag. There won't be any vinyl here. And this is the bottom edge, and this gets a lot of wear and tear in bags as well. So I added a little bit denser stitching in here, and these two side panels are done. So what's my takeaway? If you wanted a subtle background design and then you wanted to put, let's say, some pieces, for example, you know, this one shows the circles and these have different things. To add another layer of dimension, go ahead and stitch an all over design or something in a matching thread on the felt, the wool felt, before adding any of your fabrics or color embellishments on the surface. And then afterwards you can come and add these on, and when you come closer you're going to see all the details. If you're doing this on a long arm, and especially if you have something like Pro Stitcher and Designer where you can do some computerized very intricate designs, that would be absolutely amazing on this. So if you want another layer, start with that stitching first and then come in with your quilted or applique pieces on top. So that's a tip. Definitely mark where the bottom is so that after you put your bag together, you won't be disappointed if you've brought some of your designs down into here. And then again, put the snap on last. That would be a good idea. But have fun with this kit. So I hope you're now inspired to get this bag and really take it to the limits of your creativity. But I'm going to go over, now that this bag is completed, I'm going to go over a few things that I did to really level up this bag. So I used multiple types of stitching on here. I added this clear crystal looking button. This is a three-dimensional, if you can see that. I happen to have it. I added some just a touch of beadwork to add a little bit there. When I took these snaps off and to re-put them back on, I made sure that that hand stitching, see, this comes pre-punched with holes in it. So I made sure that I went around twice to fill in all the gaps, just a running stitch there. And I really wanted it to show off. I picked up the thread that was here where I had made those little French knots. So instead of trying to hide it, I highlighted it as a design element. And then again, here is what the vinyl looks like on the bottom. And as I mentioned, the edging of most vinyls, they don't need to be finished. So that was a raw edge that matched right in with a nice raw edge of this wool. And then on the inside, because I always have to see how far can I push the envelope, what I did was I removed, this is the zippered pocket that comes with. I removed it, and then once I removed it, I was going to add it on to this other wool that I had. So it's lined with another layer of wool that's much thinner than the wool that you get in the kit. And then I decided I didn't like it so dark in there, and then to put a black pocket on, I added another piece of sparkly fabric. This is just quilting cotton with a little bit of gold shimmer on there. I stitched it on the front, so I have a double layer. So I have a slip pocket with this black zippered pocket floating on the top. And now I can really see where my pockets are. That's something that I like to do with my bags, so I can see. But look at how beautiful. I'm telling you, even my husband sat up and said, wow, that is something really different for you. So take the time to really have fun and go all out with this bag. This is just one of probably 100,000 different ways that you can create with this bag, but go to town with your beautiful threads and just have a great time. So thanks so much. See you next time.